Thoth's lost teachings on the geometry of the soul. Thoth, also called Jehuti, was a central figure in ancient Egyptian religion. He was credited by the Egyptians with inventing writing, science, and measurement, and the Greeks associated him with Hermes. According to the collector, Thoth was the patron of scribes and sacred texts and the creator of arithmetics, geometry, astronomy, and medicine. 128688650017549 plus L105L116. A 10-minute talk on Thoth's lost teachings on the geometry of the soul therefore begins by grounding the audience in the historical Thoth, the ibis-headed moon god who recorded the results of the weighing of the heart and who was said to have invented geometry. 882275287252209 plus L800-L807. From there, the script explores how later Hermetic and esoteric traditions elaborated on Thoth's role to include teachings on sacred geometry and the geometry of the soul. The Greeks credited Thoth with inventing astronomy, astrology, the science of numbers, mathematics, geometry, surveying, medicine, botany, theology, civilized government, the alphabet, reading, writing, and oratory. 882275287252209 plus L800-L807. In Egyptian myth, he gambled with the moon to lengthen the year to 365 days. 882275287252209 plus L812-L817, and served as the scribe who recorded the verdict when a deceased person's heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'at. In later Greco-Roman and Hermetic literature, this Thoth became Hermes Trismegistus, the alleged author of the Emerald Tablets and the Corpus Hermeticum. Although modern historians regard Hermes Trismegistus as a syncretic figure, the link between Thoth and geometry persisted. Sacred geometry and the soul. The term geometry of the soul is not found in ancient Egyptian texts. It comes from later esoteric writings that combine Hermetic, Neoplatonic, and New Age ideas. One influential source is Manly P. Hall's Secret Teachings of All Ages, which portrays the initiate in an Egyptian mystery temple encountering Thoth Hermes, surrounded by a luminous haze and bearing a winged rod entwined with serpents. 237478530040180 plus L24-L37. Hall recounts traditions that credited Thoth with teaching geometry to humanity. 237478530040180 plus L48L63, and with reforming the calendar. 237478530040180 plus L79-L82. Sacred geometry, the belief that certain geometric proportions reflect universal principles, has ancient roots. The bent pyramid and the Great Pyramid at Giza incorporate unusual slope angles. Author Freddie Silva observes that the slope of the Great Pyramid, about 51.49 degrees, references the heptagon. The heptagon is associated with wisdom and sound and has been described as the geometry of the soul. 4306114901460119 plus L42-L51. In the bent pyramid, the upper slope corresponds to a pentagon and the lower slope to a hexagon. 430611490146019 plus L52-L55. The combination of pentagonal and hexagonal geometry matches the crystalline structure of human DNA. 4306114901460119 plus L61-L64. Silva explains that ancient architects designed temples and pyramids as living organisms whose geometric proportions resonated with the human body. 4306114901460119 plus L 14-L37. When people entered those structures with focused intent, the resonance between the temple's geometry and their own energy field created altered states of consciousness. 4306114901460119 plus L 61 to L 64. 4306114901460119 plus L 67 to L 72. Geometric symbolism in Thoth's mythology. The myth of Osiris shows Thoth as a master of sacred measurement. After Seth killed Osiris, Isis asked Thoth to help restore his body. Thoth provided words of power that allowed Isis to reassemble Osiris and conceive Horus. 88227528725220 plus L 819-L821. Geometry and words of power are linked because Egyptian hieroglyphs were considered living symbols. In the Book of the Dead, Thoth is depicted recording the verdict, while the jackal-headed Anubis weighs the heart against the feather of Ma at 88227528725220 plus L 827-L832. The judgment scene often shows a scale balanced at perfect equilibrium, an image of geometric harmony connecting moral order with physical balance. Thoth was also associated with the concept of Ma at the cosmic order. The collector article notes that Thoth resided in the mansion of Thoth in the afterlife, which served as a safe haven for journeying souls and a place to learn protective spells. 1-286-886-500-17549 plus L81-L87. As the god of equilibrium, he maintained balance between cosmic forces and recorded the results of the heart-weighing ceremony. In esoteric interpretations, this balance extends to the geometry of the soul, the idea that the soul's vibrational pattern corresponds to specific geometric forms, the soul's 9 parts, and geometric resonance. Ancient Egyptians did not conceive of the soul as a single entity. The World History Encyclopedia lists 9 distinct aspects: cat, physical body; K, life force or double; Ba, the human-headed bird that could travel between worlds; Shiat, shadow; Ak, the immortal transfigured self; Sahu and Sekhem, aspects of the Ak; Abe, heart; and Ren, secret name. 306-3517-4700-1548 plus L 140-L154. These facets coexisted during life and separated after death. At judgment, the Ak and its attributes appeared before Osiris, while the heart was weighed against the feather of Ma at Maum. 306-3517-4700-1548 West L 154-L162. Because each part of the soul had its own qualities, later mystics associated them with different geometric frequencies: the Bay's bird form with spirals, the Ka's double with symmetry, and the Abhart with balance. Esoteric writers thus imagined that geometry of the soul meant aligning each aspect of the soul to its corresponding geometric archetype. Although speculative, this framework illustrates how number symbolism, geometry, and cosmology were intertwined in Egyptian and Hermetic thought. Hermetic teachings on vibration and geometry. The Kybalion, an early 20th century summary of Hermetic philosophy, teaches the principle of vibration. It states that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. and that motion is manifest in everything. 430048780937590 bus L21 to L29. Differences between physical matter, energy, and spirit are attributed to varying rates of vibration. 430048780937590 bus L31 to L41. The Kabbalion claims that modern science has rediscovered this truth and that all forms of matter and energy are modes of vibratory motion. 4304878093759 It describes how increasing the vibration of an object causes it to emit different colors and eventually transform into invisible radiation. 4304878093759 plus L90-L109. Though this text was written in 1912, it draws on older Hermetic themes and frames them as lost teachings regained. Within this framework, sacred geometry becomes the map of vibratory states. Each geometric form reflects a different frequency. For example, pentagons and hexagons represent harmonies found in organic structures. Heptagons are associated with mystery and sound. 430611490146019 plus L42-L51. And the heptagram, seven-pointed star, appears in the Sigillum Dei, a magical diagram used by Renaissance magicians. Thoth's lost teachings are therefore imagined as instructions on how to align one's soul to these geometries. In summary, while no extant Egyptian text records Thoth's geometry of the soul, ancient sources credit Thoth with inventing geometry and with maintaining cosmic balance. 882275287252209 plus L800-L800712868865001754 at 105-L116. Later esoteric writers expanded his role, asserting that sacred geometry holds the key to understanding human consciousness. The Great Pyramid slope described as the geometry of the soul. 430611490146019 Plel 42-L51, and the Hermetic Principle of Vibration. 430048780937590 Plel 21-L41 together illustrate how geometry and vibration were linked in mystical thought. A modern exploration of Thoth's lost teachings thus becomes a journey through myth, sacred architecture, and Hermetic philosophy, inviting listeners to contemplate how geometric patterns might reflect the structure of the soul,